brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking hosts, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
It is definitely time for more Suds. Welcome to this Suds episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. I am one of your hosts here today, good old boy Mike. Joining me here at the table is Reverend Mark.
Hello, everybody.
Good old boy Dave.
Hey, tell me when we start recording so I can say something funny.
Okay. That happened about 5 minutes ago, Dave.
Oh, hey, everybody.
Epic fail right there off the bat. And good old gal Julieanna.
Hi, guys.
It's great to have the gang back here. We are the best thing on at 2 a.m. And we thank you for choosing us over the show discussing water conservation and the prelude to water wars with Mexico. Riveting. Well, this Sips, Suds, and Smokes episode is sponsored by Peabody Wines and Beer Merchants. Taste it before you buy it and ship it only at Peabody. So you can reach them at www.peabodyswineandbeer.com. Well, our Suds segments are all about beer, and definitely more beer. We have a great show to talk about today. And, of course, you couldn't welcome any show talking about GABF unless we actually enter in just like you would at GABF, which is bring on the pipes, sir, laddies.
Exactly.
So I actually got to watch those guys practice before they were coming in the hall. And the thing that I thought was so funny about the whole thing is even the people that have like the stuff that twirls, they're actually practicing with the bagpipes.
Aww.
Like, I mean, is it like a merit badge you get? I am the chief twirler. You know, it's like, I mean, I know there's an order in the bagpipe, you know, regalias, their core. You can't actually play the pipes, you know, just coming in. You got to march and do the drums and do the twirly. I don't know, what do they call the twirly things?
Twirly thing.
Twirly things. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that.
You got to start at the bottom.
You're 2 for 2, man. I appreciate that. Well, it was pretty cool to, you know, see them over there like tuning up and stuff. And I'm like, well, how do you tune a bagpipe? I mean, I play.
Apparently
not bagpipes. We play a lot of other things.
Apparently you don't, from what I've heard every time I hear a bagpipe.
I know. They always sound like they're out of key or off tune or playing flat like half the time. And I guess that's part of the process.
Is there a key?
Yeah, it's kind of atonal.
I can already tell where this show is going. We've barely gotten into it. Well, we are talking about our trip to GABF, and it was definitely a trip for sure. So let's definitely get on the plane and get going here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the takeoff. The captain has made tower communications available, so if you'd like to monitor the air traffic system, you'll find that on Channel 9 and your headsets in the seat pocket in front of you. We'll give you a little more information about our service plan for our flight this evening as soon as we're in the air. Thank you, and again, welcome aboard.
That's right. Sips, Suds, and Smokes is headed back to Denver, Colorado to talk about the Great American Beer Festival. We all had a really great time to recover, recoup, and recharge from this event. Today is a GABF wrap-up show for 2015. We have tasted over at least 1,000 beers. That's probably putting it mildly.
That is putting it mildly.
That's just the mild beers.
You know, it was an interesting week altogether, wasn't it? Because we had the Swansea Day was the weekend before, and I felt like we just drank for 2 days solid just for Swansea Day.
Yeah. We did.
We had a couple of days break, let our livers recover, and then we hopped on the plane and went to Denver, and then we just drank
and drank
for like
and
5 days.
and drank. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And I still don't feel like we even had like half the beers that were available that
I know. It seems like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Well, plus we're actually going to be doing several things today. Not only talking about the beers that we consume while we're on the GABF floor, but we'll actually be tasting and rating a few beers today as well. So those beers that we're going to be tasting and rating are all medal winners. Blackberry Farms Summer Saison, Trinity Brewing's Red Swingline IPA, Founders Brewing Redunculous, and Firestone Walker's Double DBA. We're actually having the 2014 vintage. They actually medaled for the DBA, which is not the same exact beer, but we'll be talking about those beers and rating them today. Well, I thought we'd first just kind of start off, with our general comments, about GABF as well as our top 3 beers. And I thought we'd just kind of go around the table and talk about our general impressions. So, Reverend Mark, what do you think about GABF this year?
I like the fact that there was more of it, if you can imagine such a thing. There were more booths. There were less vendors of extraneous things that those of us who are hobby brewers would love to spend our money on, but probably shouldn't be schlepping back, to wherever we're going. So I like that. There was just more to choose from. For me, at least, when I hit it into the hall the first night, the first place that I went, sort of my shrine that I had to, pay homage to was the Anchor Steam. That was the first beer that I drank. And I know it may not have been, it wasn't the best beer on the floor. It was clearly the best California Common of a few that I had. But for me, at least, I wanted to start out by saying that sort of made sympathetic contact with Fritz Maytag, his company, and the people that really sort of started the whole craft brew phenomenon back in the early 80s. So that's where I started out, but then it got a little bit murky after that.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Do you remember the rest of the first session?
Do you remember any of the sessions?
1, 2, and face plant.
So then it went to the sour beers and to the kettle sour beers and to the
down into the abyss. Well, Dave, what'd you think kind of overall this year for the show?
Well, I liked it because this year was my second year, so I felt more prepared. And I think I was better able to kind of make use of the GABF app. Kind of understood a little bit how things are laid out a little bit, so it was a lot more manageable. And I agree with Mark about less of the extra merchandise and like weird stuff that would be cool to buy, but would suck to try to take home in a plane. So I just felt like there was a lot more beers. I enjoyed the fact that I was able to go back to some of the breweries that I enjoyed last year to see what they were doing this year. And then just the fact that I kind of knew a little bit more about what the whole thing was going to be like.
Well, I think that's the one thing that I noticed in talking with several of the people that are just attending, that they're going to one session. And there's just no way.
Yeah.
No.
I can't imagine just going for one session only. And it's interesting because they talk about that same measure of preparation and game plan as well. Like, you know what? I'm going to go and do these 20 things, and I'm going to taste these exact beers. And I think that is certainly good to walk in and have a game plan, but just the physical layout, as well as just the way the crowd tends to flow.
Everybody goes towards the big names.
And I think that you have to think about some flexibility with your plan itself. I think you walk in and you're like, well, I have this plan and I'm going to kind of, here's my map and I'm going to meander this way. But then you're checking your time, and you're like, well, I've been here 2 hours, and I'm not even a third of the way through my plan.
It's like, I'm going to go to Disney for a day.
Yeah,
I'm going to hit
that's
the
totally it.
teacups, and then I'm going to go to this.
I agree. They need to bring the Fast Pass system to
there you go.
GABF floor. There you
Man.
go. You heard it first on this show, that's for sure. Julieanna, what'd you think kind of overall, this year's Great American Beer Festival?
It's funny because this being my second year, I thought I was more prepared, than last year. Had a good idea of what the game plan was going to be. And then the floor was that much larger, and the funky beers were selling out that much quicker. And my game plan just kind of went out the window, and I just was kind of winging it. But again, there's just was so much out there, and we'll discuss in a few minutes, different takes on it. But almost overwhelming in a way.
Well, I think that is almost the key word that I would use would just be overwhelming. I mean, the phrase they had this year, it's bigger and beerier.
And it was.
And it was. There was a lot more beer on the floor. And this is the first time I did not get through the entire tasting hall.
Yeah.
I've been able to at least get around, even hopping and skipping, through there and kind of using, a few less than patented methods, of getting around rather quickly. That I just, after that second session, I was like, wow, I just am not even halfway through the hall. And I need to come up with a different game plan for Saturday, which is the last session we went to. So, I found a lot more brewers on the floor this year, which was actually cool.
Yeah, that was. And especially the first night.
Yeah,
that
was
really
cool. And it wasn't just for the Saturday session, which you see a lot of brewers, because they tend to go to the award ceremony. For the brewers that are actually there at, in Denver, they tend to go to the award ceremony on Saturday morning. Then you find them at the members only session on, right after that. They kind of, because the walk is literally like a couple 100 yards.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I actually saw a lot of them were actually on the floor on Thursday and Friday, and I think they enjoyed a lot of that feedback that they were seeing, from people about who was liking it, why were they liking it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they see a lot of this in their brew pub, but the thing is that I think a lot of them are there kind of anonymously, and I don't, for a lot of people that they don't know how to read the badges and figure out, well, who is actually the brewer. I think that it gives them a way of seeing their beer served amongst a lot of competition in a fairly neutral environment.
Yeah.
And you get to see people and their face reaction, those noses kind of scrunkling up, and a lot of high fives, and, a lot of things that you don't see that's always sometimes on Facebook or on any of the other, rating sites on the internet as well. I thought quality was way up.
Oh, yes.
I thought that quality had stepped up dramatically across the board. I just didn't find myself wandering from one bourgeois beer to the next and going, oh, this is something exceptional. It was like, wow, all of this stuff is actually pretty good. There's some things a little better than others, which we'll talk about next. And but you just can't produce a solid red, brown, pale, and stout and expect to compete on the shelf or on the taps anymore. I just think those days are long gone.
Yeah, and I think that's what made it harder for me too this year, is that for every brewery that I went to, it wasn't just one beer that was good. There was, where it made me like go back and try all of them, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe like I've gone through 4 and I've liked all 4, and
Yeah.
I even found that the brew pub section was really overall
I didn't get to it all
not too
this year.
bad. I mean, it was more varied.
We went to a couple, but there were some really good ones.
Yeah,
it was better this year.
Yeah, it was more splotchy in terms of quality, but there wasn't anything terrible. There wasn't anything bad, but there was a lot of really good beer there as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought what was cool is there were a lot of brew pubs that actually medaled this year as well, and caught some really key categories.
Right.
So, I think that everybody's thinking, well, if I don't have a 5-barrel system and 40-barrel fermenters, that I can't compete and make quality beer. No, wrong. I just think I think that that's what I love about the competition itself, is that I don't think that quality necessarily translated to size.
I think brew pubs have an advantage in some respects because they usually make smaller batches, and there's usually a higher turnover that they can move their beer through. even if it's not one of their best. And then they get to experiment a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, the pairing experience was back again this year. They changed the name of it from farm to table to pairing, I think was the name of the section. I got to go through there, and I love the concept. I think it's great that they're actually showing how beer can complement food and show people that there actually is some concept of pairing, beer with food. Excuse me. But I think the thing that I was disappointed with was the quality of the beers they had back in the pairing area. I thought they were making good choices, but I just felt like there were a lot of other really great beers that were back there in years past that I just didn't see. I don't know, there was something about walking through that section and having food at the same time that some of the beers were really exceptional. I mean, things you would just not normally serve on the GABF floor. And I don't know, I just didn't feel like that this year. I thought the food was excellent. I thought it was awesome back there.
Yeah, and I thought especially some of the dessert pairings were the most interesting to me. And I think, as I recall, there was a lot done also with kind of sour and sweet, some of the sour beers. So, yeah, I could hang out down there for a couple of hours easily.
Yeah, but the thing is that eats into your time on the floor as well, and so you have to. I found myself power tasting and eating as I was walking through there. So maybe in my haste, maybe I wasn't giving it as much as a fair shake in thinking about the quality of the beers as well, because I literally was like running through there because I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this whole pairing thing in a half hour. Ready, go. And, there's like 40 food booths back there. So I just, maybe giving each booth 1 minute and moving on. Maybe that I wasn't giving it as much justice as I needed to as well.
Well, it's hard, trying to balance your time with everything. And, I think one thing that helped with that was probably the extra bathrooms. That was good.
Yeah, you're right. And you didn't have to, and they were on up both sides of the hall this year, so you didn't have to
cut the line a little bit.
Yeah, you have to think, oh, okay, I got a 10-minute truck and then a 5-minute wait, and, a half hour later, I'm going to be back to drinking beer. You didn't have quite that same situation.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the one time it's good to be a girl.
Well, let's get to talking about some beer. So let's start. Definitely want to cover our top 3 picks. We had some really great conversations about our top 3 picks, even with not getting all the way through the hall. I like the fact that there were some things that we came up with the same and some very diverse things. We didn't hang out together the whole time we were on the floor, by the way, which was we do that intentionally and kind of naturally anyway. And sometimes we run into each other on the floor, but it allows us to kind of cover, everything that's on the floor. Reverend Mark, your top 3.
All right. I actually put them into 3 different categories. I had more than 3 favorites, of course. All right.
He's pulling a Julie.
But totally more. But
all right, good old gal Julieanna. Let's hear your top 3.
So my first category, and it's not necessarily
it's a 1-hour
in this
show.
order. Yeah,
it was
under my true to style category. That is the no pretense beer category. That is where it just really hit it right on the head. As I reviewed all my notes and went back through my beer memory the best I could, I would give it to New Holland. It's a brewery out of Michigan for their vintage Belgian triple. Now, I don't know if it is the same beer as is commercially advertised online as their Black Tulip triple. I don't think it is because my notes are very different than what I'm reading elsewhere. But I can just tell you, speaking as a home brewer, this was really the kind of beer that I aim to produce. It had a very simple Pilsner backbone to it, maybe a sprinkling of aromatic malt. It was semi-dry, and yet it had a very kind of viscous and malty finish on the palate. So I just thought as far as under my true to style category, it was really pretty amazing.
Cool. What's your Suds rating going to be on that?
I will give that one for true to style 5.
A 5. How about that? Listen, anytime, give me another.
Yeah, there's so many great beers. I mean, so they're all the ones that make it to the top are very much at the top.
All right, number 3A.
Okay.
Or are you number 2?
Now, here's my number 2 category.
All right. Okay.
And it's under what I'm just simply calling sour notes.
Sure.
Okay. So my favorite one, again, is hard to winnow them all down. But I have to say the one I kept going back for every single session just to say, was it really that good? And it was the Paradox Brewery in Colorado, their salted watermelon sour.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're going to talk a lot about that today for sure, are we not?
Popular topic.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. This
Let's
was
all
like...
just raise our hand.
Yeah.
It's top 3.
Yeah.
All right. We're all going to talk about the watermelon sound.
It was a spot-on Gosa, really, with sort of a touch of Jolly Rancher, and yet it had a softness of body that was pretty amazing that could convey that salt. Not too salty, though. It was just kind of a soft, salty. And it actually took me back to my grandmother's watermelon rind preserves. Now, this is like a Depression-era kind of thing that people did, but she still made this stuff. And it really took me back to that kind of like it had a marmalade aspect to it that was, instead of orange, watermelon. So anyway, I'm going to, as many times as I went back to this booth and really tried to talk them out of a bottle or two, they would not consider it.
Bastards.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna give them a 5.
about
Clearly
that?
a 5.
I'm sure we're all going to talk about it. And your top pick.
And my top pick?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that is my top pick for the sour notes.
Your third pick.
So my third
third
pick, and this is just I just called this my off the chart experimental category. It'd have to be the Funky Buddha, no crust, peanut butter or PB&J American Brown.
Wow, interesting choice.
Yeah,
And it sounds like something from Terrapin that Spike would make for sure. So
it was bready, so it had that kind of a whole grain, whole bread kind of taste to it.
But not crusty.
Not crusty and not musty. It had kind of a general fruit appeal to it that I think was made possible by the malt and the caramel working well together. I would have been interested to see how they really pulled this thing off. But in terms of like just the experimental category, that was the one that I really had to settle on. Although there were many, and I will give this one merely a 4.
A 4. All right. The body should really not make that sound. Dave, your top 3 at GABF 2015.
Sure. Well, let me just first say I am not going to talk about the watermelon sour from Paradox, but they had 4 beers there, and you could list any one of those 4 as a top beer. So my first one was a beer that I'd been reading about from a brewery I'd been reading about beforehand. And so I was like, this is going to be the very first beer I try there. And so I drug Julieanna over there, and we went to Black Project out of Denver and had the Dreamland with Blueberries. It's a spontaneously fermented beer that's then aged on blueberries, and it was, I would say, if not the best, but one of the best sours I've ever had ever.
Huh?
Yeah, it was amazing. Great complexity to the flavor, nice body, very drinkable. I wished he would have poured my sample into like a gallon jug. I would have gone over into a corner and just kind of sat there for the rest of the night. But just an amazing beer. And I would definitely give that one a 5.
Listen, at hang time, give me another. What else is in your top 3 there, Dave?
So the second one, we're going to travel from Denver to Atlanta and go to the Wrecking Bar.
When you travel on music.
So the Wrecking Bar I think is a brew pub, right? Yeah, but they weren't really in the brew pub section, were they?
No, because they're a little bigger.
Yeah, there were some brew pubs that had a full-size booth that were not in the brew pub section because I think they get picky about. They try to have a lot of geographical diversity in that brew pub section.
Yeah,
so
right.
You'll have like a state of California will have like 4 brew pub booths. Well, there's like 400 brew pubs in California.
Exactly. So the Tennessee whiskey barrel-aged barley wine was... It was, I don't know, man. It was amazing. I think it was what, Dickel?
From a brew pub where? Where's this brew pub? In Atlanta. Okay, all right.
Yeah, they went across the border in Tennessee, stole some whiskey barrels.
Huh.
Took them back down there, stuck their barley wine in it. Man, I'm tell you what, that's, I've had some very good barrel-aged barley wines. That is one of the best. It was complex, not boozy. It was really big, but the booziness was gone from it. Caramel, toffee, malts, just a little bit of vanilla from the barrel. It was really a solid beer altogether. And I would give that one a 5.
5. Listen to that hang time. Give me another. Your last choice in your top 3.
So, I've been to GABF 2 years. And now both years I will be talking about a Wicked Weed beer. And also both years I will be listing a Coolcumber beer. It's one of my favorites. Coolcumber is basically what it is. It is a cucumber based farmhouse, I believe, and it as good as Electric Cucumber from Trinity is. I would say Coolcumber is just as good. It's definitely different. You get good hints from the yeast. But what these guys are able to do with Coolcumber to make it into a good tasting beer is amazing to me. Some peppery notes were in there. There was ginger, I believe, and something else too. I don't know. I was drunk when I drank it. But I still loved it, and I love Wicked Weed, and I give that beer a 5. Sounds like a country song. I was drunk when I drank it.
I'm thinking professional tasting notes by Dave. I was gingery and sweet. I don't remember the rest. I was wasted.
There was stuff in it. I think there was some beer in there.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. For that
stuck
show,
some alcohol in this beer, man.
Julieanna, I know you had some top 3. 1, 2, 3. Uno, dos, tres. That's it.
Yeah, I know.
I love all my babies.
So, not all my babies, just a lot of my children. Yes. I'm not going to discuss it, but I do echo the sentiments on the salted watermelon from Paradox and the Black Project, Blueberry Dreamland, both like excellent beers. But the 3 that I wanted to talk about was, and in no particular order, New Glarus's 2015 Golden Ale was beautiful. It also happened to win a bronze this year for their Brett in the Brett category, and just a beautiful beer, and for me a departure because everything that I have known and tasted from New Glarus has always been of a sour component. For the most part, with the exception of like the basic beers that you can get in the 6-pack. This thing was it was beautiful, and it was a really nice departure, and I'm happy that they're doing stuff like this. And a 5 easily. Yeah, I think I went back like 4 times.
Yeah, great stuff from New Glarus.
Yeah, exactly.
Top 3 there.
So now number 2 is from Austin Beer Works. It's their Fire Eagle IPA.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this.
This little side note, the state of Texas has really impressed me this year at GABF.
Love you, Texas.
Yeah, we really, really do. In all the diversity, which we'll get into a little bit later. But the Fire Eagle IPA, and it's in cans too. Anybody wants to send it to us, we will be happy to receive it. It's awesome. And I gave that a 5 as well.
Listen, hang time, give me another.
And last last but not least is from that great state of Florida, and my new love is from Funky Buddha. This one is a little bit different from Reverend Mark's, but it is Lastsnow, which is their milk porter with coconut coffee and white chocolate. Yeah. My God.
Yeah, I noticed how many people were hoarding that beer this year. The beer trading sites were just lit up, and they were like, I want Lastsnow. I want Lastsnow.
Yeah. There was a guy in Denmark who wanted, it was morning, the snow, and then I think a morning wood or something. Yep. 2 Funky Buddha beers. Yep. And he was going to trade 3 Cantillons.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
That's heavy stuff.
Mm.
This, I'm just going to say...
There's a lot of flavor in that beer.
It is a lot of flavor, but it is blended so well. And most of the time when you think of a beer with coconut, it's a toasted coconut. Yeah. This was not toasted, and
I'm not a coconut fan, and I like this beer.
I agree 100% with that statement.
Yeah. Love, and it is a 5.
So cool, too.
Yeah, it's a 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sticking to it. Well, I have my top 3. I'll kind of rip through these rather quickly. So, absolutely, the watermelon sour. I found myself going back to this time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't recognize it was Goza style. So, I'll have to go back and look at that because I don't remember that was actually the base beer was a Goza. But that's cool if it was because that makes a lot of sense. I want to say Carol, is her name, was the marketing gal, or somebody actually showed me the picture of all the watermelons that they went through to make that beer. It was an enormous pile of watermelons that they went through to make that beer.
Yeah.
And
it was worth it.
It reminded me a lot of the picture that the Saison man, Jason, I want to say, down at Trinity, sent us as well to do the electric cucumber.
Oh, all those cucumbers they had to
and they're
through.
very close to each other, by the way. I mean, they're right there in the shadow of Pikes Peak, and I think it's pretty cool that such great beer is being made, right there in close proximity. We will do a brewery takeover edition of Paradox. So, how about that? Yeah, so we'll talk a lot more about their beers on that show, but I can't rave enough about it and what we tasted. There was a beer that caught my attention very early on from Insight Brewing called Doe's Eyes. This is a cherry Saison. Okay, look, I must admit that I was completely unaware of the cherry crop in Door County, Wisconsin. For whatever reason, I just had no clue. I think of cherries that are actually over in Michigan.
Right.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah, I know. So I'm sure that some of these same cherries find their way into a lot of great new Glarus beers as well. But this Insight offering actually captured my palate on day one, and then a lot of repeat visits, coming back around for it. I'm not a fan of cherries. And the thing I loved about it was it really had great sweet and tart balance, and it's a rather light offering on the fruit side. So this is a beer that's complemented by the fruit, not a fruit beer that's complemented by the beer. Yeah. So really great beer, 5 for that all the way. And that was my same rating for the watermelon sour. Last beer I'm going to talk about is actually right where we started with this whole conversation about our top beers, which is right back at Anchor. So, the beer that really caught my attention was Anchor Steam Meyer Lemon Lager. Yeah. It was a bit of a celebrity crush that I had because Bob Brewer himself actually poured me this beer. And I had never met him, and it was very cool always when you get a chance, especially after a beer is that good, to look the brewer and say, this is really an awesome beer. And really giving them that immediate feedback. It was a dry, refreshing lager. And the thing is that it's actually not a lemon fruit beer that was dry. It's actually a really good lager that has some lemon accent to it. And so that's really what I love. The thing I loved about this most is they're actually canning this beer. So it's really widely available. Yeah. Low ABV, I don't know exactly what it is. I want to say it's like 4% or something like that. I would have actually asked for a picture of this. If we were at a pizza joint, I would have said bring on the pictures. It was just really good, very refreshing. And it's very cool that a place like Anchor keeps on making really great beers. I mean, they could just lay back and just make the same beers that they've been making for the last 30 years, and just not do anything new or innovative. This was really great. You take a place that doesn't traditionally make lagers and make really great lagers. I thought that was awesome. So my Suds rating for the Anchor Steam Meyer Lemon Lager is a 4. Well, that covers some overview that we had on GABF in general, as well as our top 3. We're going to take a quick segment break here. We'll be right back. We got a lot more beer to talk about. Hey, welcome back to Sips, Suds, and Smokes. Today we're talking about the Great American Beer Festival for 2015. Our Sips, Suds, and Smokes went and covered the show this year, and we're talking about some things we had from the GABF floor, as well as some beers that we have to chat about as well. I was kind of rude. We've been actually rating some of these beers, and I didn't share with everybody what our Ruds rating.
A Ruds rating?
Ruds rating.
More beer. More beer, table 3, please.
Love those Ruds.
Reverend Mark, please read the Suds ratings for our folks for today.
Okay, the Suds rating number 1 would be, that sucks, give me anything but a bud. Number 2, was that a belch? And number 3, what a relief. Suds rating number 4, a body should really not make that sound. And Suds rating number 5, listen to that hang time. Give me another.
I'm glad he did that. Now all those numbers make sense. I was like...
Are you confused?
I think those... I'm saying 5, but I don't know what a 5 is. Is that good or bad? Or
I know, Dave. It's pretty tough. Well, we have some more GABF medalists to talk about, and we're actually enjoying some medal winners right here in the studio for today. We'll have kind of a quickie review of these beers as we go around. Those 4 beers, once again, were the Firestone Walker Double DBA. Actually, I'm going to read them in a different order because I'm going to screw this up. The Blackberry Farm Summer Saison, the Trinity Brewing's Red Swingline IPA, Founders Brewing's Redonkulous, and Firestone Walker's Double DBA, the 2014 vintage, are the beers that we're having here. And so I thought we'd cover one of these, which is the beer from Trinity. Julieanna, can you introduce this beer for our audience?
Oh, twist my arm. Okay, so we're going to talk about the medal winner Red Swingline IPA Primitive from Trinity Brewing. And it won a silver for Brett Beer, by the way. This beer is, the style is a sour wild ale. It is, their description is, ever had an extremely hoppy sour beer before? Like sour as in lacto, because Brett doesn't create sour flavors? The answer is, well, no. You have never had a super hop sour beer because the microbes that make the cheek puckering sour are extremely sensitive to hops. Well, the guys at Trinity have figured out a method to get around the sensitivities and developed a 100 IBU brew, fermented with lacto and bretta, aged in barrels, and then dry hopped. Yes.
So this is the IPA for people that don't like IPAs.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, and it cracks me up that this is only 4.1% ABV.
Wow.
Because this tastes...
So I can drink the rest of this bottle and nobody's going to get... No, it's not going to get any funnier, right?
It is going to get funny because we're all going to fight you for the rest of what's in that bottle.
It's only got one way to go.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
And whose place is this anyways?
I like that. Call it like you see it, Dave. I love that. So... so what are your tasting notes on Red Swingline?
God bless. It's like such a great grapefruity IPA beer, okay? If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Plus just it's hoppy, but it's not, it's just a great blend.
It has the fruit essence, but it doesn't have the same a sharp bitterness component. So all that citrus component is what you're getting out of the grapefruit.
Yeah, it's a very heightened citrus aspect as opposed to the, danky hoppiness that you would expect.
Yeah.
But then there's also the little funk in the backbone there too, and it's just it's such a great balance. And I want to know what your secret is. I gave this a 5.
5. Listen to Hang Time. Give me another. So I just wrote down tart and tangy. I've had a lot of this. It's a really great beer. And I really love this is a great quality beer. I think that's the thing I really love. It's just the balance off this is really quite amazing. And it really allows a very broad audience to approach this as well. So my Suds rating for Red Swing Line Primitif, is that right? Mm-hmm. Primitif is a 4. But I should really not make that sound. Reverend Mark, your tasting notes on Red Swing Line.
I thought that it offered me a little bit of malt and kind of an acid aspect that comes with the souring that was just right in balance to where it wasn't too biting. Let me take another sip here.
Did the acid part take you back to the 60s?
Almost, dude.
I'm sorry, wrong music.
Yes, it made me. I enjoy it most emphatically if I'm inside a sensory deprivation chamber.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Reverend Mark, this is not the weed show.
This is not the Wicked Weed show. No.
It's a different Denver show.
I think that for me at least, this is a sour that I can really sip a good 12 ounces of at any time of the day. Preferably not before I go into the office, but you never know. So I would give this one a 4.
A 4. And Dave, what do you think about Red Swing Line?
So, what'd you say the ABV on this was?
4.
4? So,
4.1.
I don't know if it is truly a session beer. I think I could drink a lot of this.
I'm up to the challenge, aren't you?
Yeah.
4 bottles later, I'm good.
Yeah, something
Sorta.
with this much flavor that you even would toy with the idea of having a full session of it. Tells you how delicious it is. I mean, the citrus, and it doesn't. It's not so acidic that it bites at you or anything. I love Red Swing Line. I love the name. I love the beer. I love the fact that every time I open a bottle of it and drink it, it's just as good every time. The consistency to be able to do this well, this consistently is another amazing thing. Huge fan of Trinity and a huge fan of this beer. I would give it a 5.
5. In this bottle, listen to Hang Time, give me another. This bottle we're actually having is probably about 8 months old, so that's pretty
awesome.
Amazing. So
wax, it's the wax, Mike.
Wax
no,
man.
It's not the wax.
It's the wax, dude.
It's not the wax. It does have a wax cap. That's why we're seeing this.
There
everybody.
you go.
So, it has nothing to do with it.
1 + 1 does equal 2.
So I thought one of the first topics that we would cover is actually some very nice crossover between a beer that we picked for Suds of 2014 and a beer that actually medaled at GABF this year, and it is the beer from Nebraska Brewing, the Mélange à Trois.
Woohoo!
I mean, it's just really quite amazing. They actually got a gold medal in the wood and barrel-aged strong beer category. We love this beer, and we could just talk about it all day long.
Yes.
So I have to tell this
and
story.
drink it all day long.
I know. So I have to tell this quick story. When we first got to Denver, we actually were chasing down some beers at a few bottle shops. Actually, we were chasing down beers from Casey, which is a brewery in Colorado. It's very they make some really great beers, but there's not a lot of it. And we got a tip of some Casey beer. We actually walked into this bottle shop, and we walked back to where the Casey beers were, and sitting about up 2 shelves from where this was were about 3 or 4 bottles of Mélange à Trois from Nebraska Brewing.
And then suddenly they were gone.
I never seen them move so fast. And how did I get shut out of this, by the way? So I mean, We could drink it all day long. It's a really great beer. If you want to hear us gush about it, go back and listen to the Best of Suds 2014. We talk about this beer, very deserving, and I'm really happy for Nebraska Brewing for echoing our sentiment on how good their beer is.
They need to come to Tennessee.
I agree. So we have a few more beers in Nebraska to rate in the near future. We picked up some, so I look forward to trying those as well. Well, one of the most competitive categories is the IPA category, once again. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about some of what medaled here. Certainly when you have that many entries, anybody know that it's like, 430 entries in the
Something
IPA
like that,
category?
yeah, something definitely crazy. Over 300.
Yeah, it was just pretty nutty. So the three winners in the regular IPA, in the Imperial IPA category, the gold medal went to Fatheads Brewery for the Hop Juju Imperial IPA.
So when did you get a brewery named after you, Mike?
Well, a lot of people say that about my hair, but usually, that's not a term that usually people use around me. The other two were the Easy Does It double IPA from Laurelwood out of Portland, Oregon, and the Tihapo. Hopefully I'm saying that right. It's Tihapo from Breakwater Brewing out of Oceanside, California. All those are the three winners in the Imperial IPA category. Now, I've had the Hop Juju from Fatheads before, and I think the thing that shocked me was it's actually not my favorite beer from them. I like just the regular Hophead, Fatheads IPA. It's really good. It's not their Imperial version. But I don't know. I just thought this was kind of strange choice because I'm just not a fan of the Hop Juju that much.
Well, the devil's advocate in me might be thinking, where was it in the line of IPAs that were, judged? Was it early on? And if it was, maybe it did better than, later. I don't know.
We've all judged that category.
Just hypothesizing.
It is tough because, you get, those hops flowing on your nose and your palate, and it's palate management 101.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that any kind of judging sequence needs to maybe end with those and then go to a whole nother session another day or another part of the day, then return to them, because you're just not going to be really all that discerning if you plow through a flight of more than, say, 6, especially a double IPA. Yeah. So I think you are playing the devil's advocate, but I think the devil knows what she's talking about.
Well, I didn't actually know any of the winners in the international IPA, international style pale ale category. The Mai Tai PA, the from Alvarado, the Rain Delay IPA from JAFB from Worcester Brewery, or the San Diego style IPA from Carl Strauss Brewing out of La Jolla. I've never had any of those beers, and did any of you guys get to taste any of that? I don't even think any of those are on the floor.
Honestly, I did not drink a ton of IPAs.
Intentionally. You just wanted a fresh, clean palate.
Just half a ton.
Yeah. Well, they're everywhere and everybody's got them. But it's like after a while, after so many IBUs, you kind of lose focus a little bit. So, I was tending to mostly go after sours, obviously, but also, Pilsners, just different styles that were a little out of the mainstream, because you can go anywhere and find a good IPA.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of which, let's talk about our next beer here real quick, which is our favorite trivia contest. What's missing from Grand Rapids?
Grand Rapids.
Well, it's definitely not a GABF medal.
Oh, snip.
Founders Brewing, based in Grand Rapids, where there's no Grand Rapids. Go back and listen to that show if you'd like to get the rest of that joke. Is a gold medal winner for the American Imperial Double IPA. Now, I actually heard many people speculate this is actually the Imperial version of the Red's Rye IPA.
I believe it.
And because they really share a very similar hop profile. So,
in color. Yeah,
you may not be able to get both versions in your particular area. So, definitely check this out. So this is Ridiculous is the name of this beer. And we're going to ask Julieanna to introduce this for us real quick, and then we're going to power rate this.
Well, since we already essentially talked about it, it is a 9.5%, and commercial description reads as follows. Ridiculous Imperial Red IPA is a no-frills, bold, 9.5% ABV India Pale Ale. It pours a pleasant burnt amber, and that is a dark, dark amber, with some sweetness due to the caramel and roasted barley used in the malt bill. And, of course, it talks about the hops and 90 IBUs. Just saying, 90 IBUs. So, it's a little lighter than the red swing line that we were drinking just prior to this, but it packs a punch. But I'm getting a lot of spice in it, and, from, like, the rye-ishness of it, which I like in the red rye itself, and I like it, and I could see why it won, and I gave this a 4.
How about that?
Yay.
So my quick rating is a 5 off this.
There you go.
That was quick.
It was quick. I don't like red IPAs, and I like this. That's all I got to say.
That'll
there's
do it.
that.
Quickly.
Yeah.
Reverend Mark, what do you think about Ridiculous from Founders?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Normally, if I'm going to be drinking an IPA, and certainly a double IPA, I don't want a whole lot of, like crystal malt, any kind of a pungent, dark malt going on. I want the hops to really come through on a lot of different levels. But this particular red really doesn't intrude in that way. And, I find it finishes clean and yet tingly, with a hop tingle going on. Some good malt balance, but still I would say overall it's very hop forward and very warming, pleasantly warming, not overwhelmingly. So, I thought it was wonderful. Not my favorite of all their beers, but probably top 5. So I will give this one a 4.
How about that? Listen, I'm sorry, a body does not make that sound. Dave, what do you think about Ridiculous from Founders?
Well, the word dank is definitely fitting. The hops are extremely prevalent here. I don't get a ton of rye. I do get some different malt characteristics in there, but I think the hops are the star.
Roasty malt.
In this, the hops are definitely the star in this beer, and it's drinks more like a. What'd you say it is? 9.5.
Yep.
I'd say it drinks more like a 9%. Not really 9.5%. It's pretty easy going down.
Glad you're
Our
that
meter just pegged
sensitive.
there.
Put on your boots, everybody. No, but I really enjoyed this beer. I think it definitely leaves an impression on you, and I would give this a 4.
4 as well. How about that? Well, you've heard some comments about some medal winners that we've had at GABF so far. Listen, we're going to take another segment break here. We'll be right back. We'll talk about some more medal winners from GABF as well. Hey, welcome back to Sip, Suds, and Smokes. Today we're actually talking about the Great American Beer Festival for 2015, and we're covering up our wrap-up show on this year's beer festival in Denver, Colorado. We're tasting some beers as we go along. We just covered a couple of beers, and we're actually going to jump right in and actually talk about another medal winner that actually caught our attention as well. So, Reverend Mark, I think I'm sorry, let's see. Dave's going to introduce the Firestone Walker.
No, I can say you could get us confused.
Yeah, we're both.
Well, wait, who's doing what? Yes,
heard those,
Dave, you're doing Firestone Walker.
Yeah,
DBA,
heard
yes.
those bagpipes. I thought we were being invaded by Scotland or something.
Would you talk about the beer, laddie? Eh?
So the beer we're drinking is actually an imperial version of the beer that won. So the double DBA, or doing business as, from Firestone Walker is their English barley wine, but it's amped up a little bit, brewed double strength. A lot of caramel, toffee, stuff in it from England. English people like. And then it's aged in some barrels, things like that. Well, anyways, so this beer is like 12% alcohol, people. All right. One thimbleful of it is 360 calories. All right.
I've had half the bottle.
Yes. But no, average pour of it is about 360 calories. And it's worth it. It's like a big English toffee candy full of alcohol that you can, just absorb into your body. Amazing
James,
flavors.
would you please bring me another pull of this?
Yeah, like a sticky pudding, please.
I feel a few Monty Pythons it's coming around the corner just in a few moments.
I get absolutely no alcohol warmth out of this. I mean, a beer that big that doesn't really light you up even a little bit.
Oh, Dave, can't you hear Christmas morning whilst you're drinking this beer?
Wow. I don't even know what... When Mike starts getting all Britishy, there's really no way to come
Britishy.
back.
That's a new term. There we go. We added it to the lexicon of the show.
You got to kind of let him go, folks. You got to let him do his
This
thing.
would be good with British cuisine, if there was such a thing.
Yes. That's
Burn.
right. Would you like some spotted dick and double DBA,
Actually, I bet that would be good.
Yeah, probably.
Some mushy peas.
Anything that would taste better than spotted dick. All right.
All right, you've already said dick twice. We're not going that way.
Talking about
Okay.
bland
anyway.
British food here on Sip, Suds, and Smokes today.
I think you could just say British food. Okay, now we've all been banned from England.
Absolutely.
Banned once again.
But anyways, this beer is great. It's very complex. A lot of deep flavors in it. Very, but again, the thing that strikes me most is that I don't get a lot of alcohol warmth from a beer this big. It's very easy to drink. Would be great as a dessert beer, I think. Great way to finish a night. I give this a 4.
A 4. How about that? Well, thanks for introducing that beer, Dave. And we're going to, for the sake of time, we're just going to let everybody kind of rate this individually, as the person that's introducing it. So we all had a chance to kind of walk around on Saturdays when they announce all the award winners. And sometimes we get to actually, walk around and taste some of the beers that are awarding that are actually served there at GBF. Any of the medal winners catch your attention, Reverend Mark?
Yeah, 3. The Firestone Walker Pivo.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, the pills. It took a gold. Thought it was just like spot on. Again, that would get my True to Style award. The second one took a silver medal from Sun King, the batch 666.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Sympathy for the Devil.
Ooh, that was a very.
It was
good
a barrel aged strong ale.
That's the best beer that is not coming to Tennessee. That's the thing I
know.
It's so close, but it's so far. I don't get that.
Yeah. So and then the and I'll only mention 3. I have about 16, but I'll say my third one here from Vintage Brewing, which came actually out of the brew pub area. Scaredy Cat.
Huh.
It was a really good, I thought, the very best oatmeal stout that I'd had in a long while. So, and that took a bronze.
Cool. Dave, any medal winners that caught your attention on Saturday?
Well, the actually the one that comes to mind, and I actually didn't have it Saturday. I'd actually had it a couple of nights before when we went out, and before it actually won was the Pernicious IPA from Wicked Weed. And again, I cannot go a show without talking about Wicked Weed because I love them. But it's a like a sort of a Brett IPA. It's very funky,
and they've made that a long time.
Very unique flavor, and they do it very well. Yeah, but it's a really solid beer, and if you ever get a chance to try it, you should.
Julieanna, any medal winners catch your attention?
Oddly enough, the from Dale Brothers Brewery in Upland, California, their Nuff, which took a bronze for their cream ale. Okay, it was the first time I had it was a really fine cream ale.
Yeah, and that's a tough category where it's almost a flavorless beer.
Exactly.
And you're trying to compete.
Yeah,
you know?
it was cool. And I'm going to say a little quick shout out to my local brewery back home, Susquehanna Brewing Company. They took
for shizzle.
a bronze for their Golden Cold Lager. Yes.
Can you spell Susquehanna after having like 3 bottles of Red Swing Line?
F yeah, brother. I'm from there.
She has a tattoo of it.
I already know the show. He's a Susquehanna. Oh, yeah. All right. So I had one medal winner to talk about, and that actually caught my attention. I definitely went medal hunting on Saturday and had quite a few of the medal winners that were there on the floor. The one that caught my attention was the beer from Distill out of Champaign, Illinois.
Yeah.
It was the Das Vidania. It is their wood. It's their stout.
Yeah.
And it was easy for me to remember this beer because I ended up wearing it. Because as I was reaching over to get a sample, somebody knocked my sample cup, in the air, and the beer was flying. And unfortunately, there's one person that was in front of me that got completely hosed. And it still spilled on me, but I ended up wearing the Das Vidania the rest of the day. People would come. I had a white shirt on that day.
People enjoy your cologne.
Yeah, they said, "Wow, man, you turned me on. You smell like wood and roasted malt." So,
wow, that got really dirty really quick.
And the thing that I remember our discussion about Distill when we did the Goza show and how much we did not like their Goza on the Goza show, and I was a little concerned that I was going to have, a repeat experience that's quite opposite. I mean, I thought this was a fabulous stout and well-deserving of the medal that they got at GABF.
Just goes to show you, you know what? You have one bad beer from a place, go back and try something else.
Mm. Well, any shockers that caught your attention? I had a few to kind of mention here to kind of get us off, and then maybe we'll hop around. I guess the one that caught my attention was Tahoe Brewing takes home a bronze for the Belgian Lambic. Really?
I never even heard of them.
No. And I have been to Tahoe Brewing, and this is not the place that you would have thought would have made Belgian Lambic. So I just was really shocked about that. I just thought that was a real shocker. Reverend Mark, anything you just like, wow, okay, really? I've had that beer. That does not make sense at all.
Yeah, there was one brewery out of Michigan that had nothing but interesting and really off the wall flavored beers, such as like their gin and tonic. I'm serious, and I think they took a silver.
They did,
and I gave it really a high rating simply because, for me at least, it did not trigger a gag reflex. Because
that's a plus.
Yeah.
Did you ask them to put that in their marketing materials? Hey,
it does not cause a gag reflex.
Will not make you vomit.
Because I just gin. I can smell it across the room, and I'm heading for the other door. You know what I'm saying? But I thought it was really very, very tasty. So that was one that surprised me. And I, very sheepishly made my way and it was a very long line getting up there. Of course, it was for all the medaled beers. And that was the one that, at least for me, I just shook my head and said, you know what? I could actually drink that on a hot day. It's not like bathtub booze at all.
After you've bathed in it.
I like that. Does not taste like vomit and is better than bathtub gin. So wow, interesting marketing material that will be.
I don't know that would make it into most publications, but
please do not sue us. Reverend Mark's opinions are those of his own and not those of 110 Productions.
But hey, you didn't make him vomit.
And that would have been very, very unkind.
We're not talking about all the beers that did make him vomit.
Wow.
We probably got time for maybe one more shocker. Julieanna, Dave, anyone
go ahead.
Capture your, wow.
No, I mean...
The only thing that shocked me was, all the medals that were won out of states like Wyoming and Montana. I mean, there were several small states with not a lot of breweries, but they actually won some really good medals.
Well, here's a couple of fun facts. So of course, you know who took home the most medals was California.
Of course.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
state.
Shocker.
But the one thing that caught my attention and was a bit of a shock was Fatheads Brewing actually took home 5 GABF medals.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Now, they have 2 breweries. They have one in Ohio, and then they have another one the West Coast. I want to say in Oregon somewhere. And actually, I was going to say, no, I can't remember exactly where it's at. But, yeah, it's on the West Coast. And, yeah, they absolutely just brought home tons of hardware this year. And
Good.
I love their beers. I really do. I think Summertime won. We already talked about the Hop Juju. Was one of the IPAs. I can't remember the other categories that they medaled in, but pretty amazing. And those beers are widely available from Fatheads. So I would definitely say if you haven't checked them out. Last beer we wanted to chat about real quick before we kind of move on here was the Summer Saison from Blackberry Farm. Reverend Mark, you were going to chat about this beer real quick.
Yeah, this one here is from the southeast. Actually, is from the state of Tennessee, East Tennessee, in Wallen, Tennessee. Blackberry Farm is just an amazing artesian ale company, ale brewery. And this one in particular, their Summer Saison, is just to me spot on what I look for in a Saison, especially a hot season kind of drink. And so, as I savored this one yet again, it is very much a hop-forward farmhouse ale with very complex aromas. It has a fruitiness that's balanced with malt. And for me, I like the way in which it has a very rocky kind of meringue-like head that it forms with a lot of the so-called Belgian yeast or Belgian lace in the glass.
Right.
Finishes with a mineral aspect that's really very, very nice as it finishes dry. This is my favorite of the 4 medal winners that we have sampled today, and obviously I'm going to give this one a rating of 5.
Cool.
Nice.
Excellent.
And it didn't make you want to vomit, right?
No, not that was the main thing. If it's a 5, it didn't make me want to vomit.
Well, I had a couple of quick shout-outs to some really good friends at Blackberry Farm. So I actually caught one of the primary brewers at Blackberry, Daniel, right after he had his medal. And he was just like on cloud nine.
Oh, yeah,
and,
sure, man.
It was a real pleasure that I actually got to go and visit a Blackberry Farm brewery and check out their new operation. Roy is just amazing. The measure of brewing skill
Stuff they're doing right out of the gate, too.
It really is for them to enter their first year and walk away from a medal. And the thing is they walked away from a medal that's actually not my favorite beer of theirs. So
yeah, right.
I've loved Summer Saison, but their classic Saison, they went through like 60 batches before they finally dialed that in. I mean, it's just crazy. And I recently had the Fall Saison version as well, and it is equally quite good. So I know that Blackberry Farm is widely available. They're distributed by, I want to say 12%.
Okay.
Is the macro distributor that they're working with. So you'll have an opportunity to definitely check out them as well. Well, it would be really rude of us to talk about GABF and not talk about the Pro-Am winners at all, because this really is about the quintessential part about GABF is actually the homebrewers themselves. And I know this is an important part of this competition. And so there were 3 that I just wanted to mention, the 3 medal winners. And then we can chat about these briefly. Muscat Love from Great South Bay Brewery, Belgian Triple. And the home brewer was Brian Gabel. The silver medal was Anastasia. Hopefully I'm saying that right. It's an American barley wine and oak whiskey. It's is
a barley wine. It might have been Anesthesia.
Yeah. Odd 13 Brewery. The home brewer was Mike Froelich. And the bronze medal, it's a Citra IPA from Fate Brewing Company. and the home brewer was Ryan Lauder. So congratulations to all of those folks.
That's awesome.
Very stiff competition. Always.
Congratulations.
And
To even make it, to GABF in the Pro-Am, is a very difficult.
it is. And I'm really proud we have somebody that's been there several times. Reverend Marks. Competed in the Pro-Am several times.
Had the great pleasure.
Jesus is his co-brewer.
Yeah.
Well, I had a chance to try all these beers, but I'm curious, did you guys get to try any of these, and what do you think of any of them?
Yeah, I tried the Muscat Love. I thought it was pretty good.
I did not like it.
Yeah, but no, I
I'd
won't.
say Muscat and triple beer.
It didn't trigger the gag reflex though. So
Well, they stuck the Pro-Am was over in that extra section this time.
Yep.
Where they added on, and by the time we got over there, everything was gone pretty much, and they were just a couple little things pouring. Generally, I would love to go over there and try some stuff just to see what people are doing. I know there was a guy from Philly who did a mojito lambic or a mojito Berliner Weiss. I think that's what it was. I really wanted to try that.
Well, I had a chance to try all three of these. My favorite was definitely the Citra IPA. It was good. It was fresh. It was really awesome. That was a great beer. The other two, I didn't care for them. So,
did you get how the whole spirit of home brewing is a lot more experimental kind of thing? Small batches, that kind of deal.
Yeah, and yet they're still vetted by a brewery, and so brewers really have to decide whether or not they can scale it up and sell, X number of barrels of it to the public. But you're right; they can go in a lot of directions with it, and I just avoid the beers though that the preferred serving glass is a funnel and a tube. Typically that's not the kind of beer I want to.
Not a lot of banquet beers. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we need to wrap up our show here for GABF, and it was really great. It's great to go back to Denver. It was a really great trip all the way around. A lot of great beers we got to chat about. Sorry, let me turn this down just a hair. Well, we didn't get to chat about everything today, and it's actually nearly 3 a.m., and it's time to wrap up Polka Classics with Paul. So join us next week as we actually discuss lederhosen and chafing, the untold story of the zipper.
Wow.
Where'd that
There's
come
a
from?
lot of beer that's involved in this, folks.
I'm guessing so.
Yeah.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can catch all of our episodes online as well on SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, PRX, and Spreaker, our native media host. iTunes and our own Android app are the easiest ways to enjoy the show on your phone. Just search for Sips, Suds, Smokes on iTunes or in the Gloogle.
Oh, I love
the
Gloogle.
I love Gloogle.
Is that like the Scottish
More
version
beer,
of Google?
table 3, please, on the Google Play Store.
It's the Gloogle.
We love your feedback, and you can reach us online anytime at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our daily tasting notes flow out on Twitter every single day. @SipSudSmoke is our handle, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. Do us a favor and take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a great big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. Please do not rate the comments on gin and tonic beer.
Or vomit.
This Sip, Suds, and Smokes episode is wonderfully sponsored by Peabody Wine and Spirits Merchants. Taste it before you buy it. Taste it before you buy it and ship it at Peabody's. I'm never going to get out of this. You can reach them at www.peabodyswineandbeer.com. Well, special thanks to the Brewers Association and the Rosen Group for treating us so well to cover this event. They really are really great hosts.
They made
they
it
are.
rock.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks to my co-host for being here today. Reverend Mark, thanks for joining us once
Good to
again.
be with you.
And good old boy Dave.
This show did not make me want to vomit.
Good old gal Julieanna, thanks for being here.
Cheers, everyone.
Well, this is good old boy Mike asking you to come back, join us once again, and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.